Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast, a show that brings you the latest insights, thought leadership, and stories from across the global mining industry. In today's episode, I'm joined by Kevin Das, senior consultant at the New Frontier Minerals, who sit right at the crossroads of the energy transition, with a portfolio of heavy rare earth and copper projects, including their Harts Range project in the Northern Territory and their copper asset at the Big One project in Mount Isa in Queensland. We're going to get Kevin's overview of the company and its assets and why rare earths matter in today's mining industry. We also discussed the company's appointment of GeoDrill Australia and what that means for the Harts Range project as they move forward to their maiden drill program. We're also going to explore the company's vision, including the path to fast tracking copper production at the Big One, and also look at funding strategies across both projects, and most importantly, why investors should be paying attention now more than ever. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah, appreciate your time. As we always start these podcasts off, just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career, how you got into the mining industry, and how your career developed to what it is today.
Yeah, great. Look, I'm a geologist by profession, 24 years in the mining industry. Did my degree at the Curtin University here in Western Australia, and from there kind of progressed into the mining sector there. Did a lot of work in exploration, from gold and into rare earths, a whole bunch of different things there. One of my career highlights, I was involved with the Northern Minerals and involved in the discovery of the Harts Range heavy rare earth deposit in 2009, 2010. And that was virgin discovery. That was some highly strategic kind of rare earth minerals there as well. From there, I've started my own investment acquisition group called the ARD Group, which I've been doing more on the corporate side of things. It's a bit more investment acquisition of mineral assets where we can kind of develop them economically and progress them along that development curve. So a bit more focus on the corporate side of things for the last 10 years. But overall, technical corporate experience over the last 24 years in the mining sector, not just here in Australia, but globally, throughout Southeast Asia and the US and South America, different parts of the world.
Great. So why don't you just give us a snapshot and tell us a little bit about New Frontier Minerals, and maybe an overview of some of the projects that you're working on in rare earths and copper.
Yeah, look, New Frontier Minerals is listed on the London Stock Exchange and the ASX, and we're primarily focused on heavy rare earths in the Northern Territory, and we have a more advanced copper development asset in northwest Queensland near the Mount Isa region. So two primary projects which we really feel is the low-hanging fruit for shareholders, that we can really deliver value, and either through discovery of our heavy rare earths and niobium, or through the development of our Mount Isa northwest Queensland copper project there. So that's really the focus. The company's really, the strategy has been divesting its non-core assets, which we've kind of done over the last 12 months. And now we're kind of focusing on these core assets, which is seeing some good traction as well.
Rare earths have featured in obviously the mainstream media quite a bit over this year, mainly obviously due to Donald Trump coming in as president. Early exploration work at the Harts Range has confirmed high-grade rare earths and niobium mineralization. I just wonder if you can just tell our listeners why heavy rare earths are really important to the world.
Yeah, look, you're right, Rob. Firstly, we've really seen an educational piece with President Trump coming out and wanting to annex Greenland and wanting to do a deal for the rare earths in Ukraine, and I think it's become rare earths have become a bit of a household name. And if you weren't really familiar with with what rare earths are, I think everyone's a little bit more educated in the last 6 to 8 months. So, but look, just to tell you a little bit about the rare earths that we have what are called the heavy rare earths. And there's a saying that goes, not all rare earths are created equal. And when you get one rare earth, you get all 15 of your rare earths. And these rare earths are really your lanthanide series, towards near the bottom of your periodic table. And they have unique but very similar chemical properties. Hence, when you get one, you get all of them. But within those 15, different rare earths have different economic values. So some of them could be worth $6, some of them could be worth $1,000 a kilogram, and it all depends on the SKU and the basket of what you've got. So for us, we've got what's called the heavy rare earths, in particular dysprosium and terbium, and economically they are superior to most other rare earths. And I think your dysprosium is over 220 US a kilogram, terbium's over 1,000 US a kilogram. So that makes quite a compelling case if of a heavy percentage or distribution of your mineralization is skewed to those two rare earths. So the other thing to point out with these heavy rare earths, almost all of them come from China, and almost entirely most of the processing capacity is from China. So even if you've got them here in Australia or other places, most likely they'll end up in China for processing and separation. So it's a very strategic commodity, or those bunch of elements, those heavy rare earths in particular, because there's the security of supply, and is what's key to this.
I suppose following on, the US Department of Defense has set a floor price of $110 per kilogram for neodymium and praseodymium. Hope I
Yeah.
pronounced them correctly, which is nearly double the current market rate. Do you expect the Australian government to adopt a similar approach?
Yeah, look, that investment through the Department of Defence into MP Materials is a real game changer. And I've been in the industry for many years now, and there's been a lot of rhetoric and a lot of talk about how these minerals are critical and we need them. But the action that we've seen through the Trump administration there and with the Department of Defense has been unprecedented, and that's going to now ensure there's going to be a rare earth industry in the US, and the US really focused on shoring up their local supply, so they're not reliant on China or any other countries for these critical minerals. So since that deal, we've seen the Australian government, we've seen the Albanese government come out and say something similar, where they're talking about putting some kind of floor pricing in, or providing government support to some of our local rare earth companies, and whether that's through a floor price as well, through heavy rare earths in particular, we're not exactly sure, but I think we're probably not too far behind in seeing something similar to what we've seen in the US. So, yeah.
Has the company been approached by the US or even Australian governments with regards to future supply of obviously critical minerals?
Yeah, look, not the government. We have been approached by a major, which we can't really mention any names, but there definitely is some interest for the suite of elements we've got, simply because you probably can just count on one hand the number of companies that have exposure to dysprosium and terbium. One of the former companies I worked for, Northern Minerals, they've probably got one of the more significant dysprosium resources outside of China, and they've got a offtake agreement with Aluka Resources. So, yeah, look, I think we're starting to see that sector really kind of heat up. I think it's going to be very interesting going forward with the heavy rare earth sector in particular.
GeoDrill Australia was recently appointed to undertake the maiden reverse circulation drill program at the Harts Range project. How significant is this announcement for the company's progression to commence its maiden drill program?
Yeah, look, it was a really good announcement. I think this entire year with the team's been working very hard to firm up as many drill targets as we can, and we're getting all the environmental approvals. Have submitted those to the Northern Territory government for review and approval, and on having those approved, we're going straight into a drilling campaign at Harts Range, which will be very exciting. So signing with GeoDrill is very significant because it just shows the market shareholders that our commitment to really move forward and advance Harts Range. And just to note, since we picked up the project in October last year, hasn't even been 12 months since we've really done a lot of the technical studies and had boots on the ground, identifying as many targets as possible, and now being able to drill shortly. That's been a really good achievement by the team. So yeah, the company, the team, the board are very excited having made that appointment.
What's the company's long-term vision for the Harts Range project, and how do you see its potential to scale up the current operations that are in place?
Yeah, look, if you break it down, the company's got a critical minerals, heavy rare earth project there, and that's really an exploration play. And there's about 5 or 6 targets there that we're looking to drill. If any of those deliver a discovery or resource, then it's just going to be a question of really drilling this out to see how big the resource is. So that's really an exploration play. So that can really go anywhere from exploration through to discovery through to development. So ideally, the goal is to always make a discovery, and that's where the real shareholder value is going to be realized from. You're exploring and you're doing it tough, and then all of a sudden the drill bit goes through, makes a discovery, and then the company re-rates. So that's from a Harts Range perspective. That's really what we want to try and achieve, is a discovery, and reward shareholders that way. With our Northwest Queensland project up in the Mount Isa district, that's really more of an advanced copper development play. We have a copper resource there, 2.1 million tonnes of copper at 1.1%, so just under 23,000 tonnes of contained copper. So there's a resource there. It's more advanced. We've recently signed an MOU with one of our neighbours, ASX-listed company Austral Resources. They've got the Mount Kelly processing facility, and this MOU that we've signed is to really explore how we can treat some of the ore that we have at the Big One deposit. In fact, at site we have stockpiles sitting there that with high-grade copper that we want to actually truck and toll treat through there as well. So we've done some early studies where we've put some of that material through, and the recoveries have come back fantastic. So for that's a bit more of a development play. We want to look at how we can look at even the short term, maybe monetize some of those stockpiles that are sitting there in surface, and then look at the bigger play in terms of, can we drill this resource out bigger? There's another 4 or 5 targets nearby that are high priority that warrant also a bit more drilling. So there's probably lot more ground there to really develop and explore as well. So again, I think the vision is to one, make a discovery at Harts Range with our critical minerals, but then also to develop our copper asset there. And if we can do one, or if not, if we can do both, that's going to be really good for all our shareholders.
The Big One copper project is the most obviously advanced project in your portfolio. How do you plan to fast track production at the project?
Yeah, look, I probably touched a little bit on that in the last question there, but look, ideally, the MOU that we've signed with Austral was really the key to that. And what we want to ideally do is to be able to process our ore through Austral's Mount Kelly processing facility. And what that means, if we can achieve that, is we don't need to raise money for a processing facility because we've got one down the road. But it's a case of really getting permits and our mining license in place, which actually we are we are applying for. And once that's in place, then we can start to look at toll treating, or even starting to put some of those stockpiles through their plant there, and then really then from there developing the asset further. So I think there's a good little development play there, and we've got a neighbour there that's making money with the copper and producing copper, and but they also want to have access to some higher grade feed. So I think it's a bit of a win-win scenario there if we can get some kind of arrangement in place there with that.
If we look at financing, how do you sort of plan to fund both these projects, the big one and Harts Range?
Yeah, look, we did a small raise mid year this year, and largely that was to really cover a lot of our big one drilling costs and some corporate costs there as well. And so the company's well funded to do all of that. Now, with the copper, depending on what we want to do, if that's going to mean more, drilling the resource out, or targeting a few other projects, prospects there that have been lined up for drilling, then we may look to do a little bit more raising. But at this stage, the company is well funded to do all of these activities there, especially at Harts Range, which is really the priority and focus for the company at this point in time.
Obviously, you're working in Northern Territory in Australia. We have a lot of Australian companies come on. We don't have too many that are mining in Northern Territory. So I just wonder if you can just give us a snapshot or an overview of the mining industry, or what's happening in mining within the Northern Territory, and also then touch upon Mount Isa as well, because I know there's obviously a lot of work going on in now Mount Isa, and a lot of news, and especially with one of the big operations in Mount Isa closing down recently. So I just wanted to just give us an overview of both regions in
Yeah.
terms of mining, what activities are happening.
Yeah, look, great. But look, both Northern Territory and Queensland are fantastic tier one mining jurisdictions. You've got a lot of activity. We can kind of take a bit of a snapshot of the Northern Territory. Great jurisdiction, even for uranium. A majority of Australia's uranium exports have come from the Northern Territory. In particular, up in at the top end there as well. There's a lot of there's gold. There's the lithium has been a big feature as well the last few years. And then you also got companies like Arafura with the Nolan's Bore rare earth project there as well. So it's a really good jurisdiction, and we're kind of blessed to kind of be there. Our project's only an hour and a half out of Alice Springs, so lots of infrastructure, and the Northern Territory government's pretty good to work with. So yeah, so I think good tier one jurisdiction, and which is, I think, key for development of projects there. And then if we go across to northwest Queensland, again, that Mount Isa district is world class, and Glencore's had a big presence there. And again, it's a great jurisdiction and location. The address that we've got there for our copper project, there's just under 1,000 square kilometres of land, and I call it the Beverly Hills of the Mount Isa district. So it's just prime real estate. So if you're going to play copper, it's definitely one of the places to be. And again, government's very supportive. So the government, especially in Queensland, they know with some of Glencore closing down some of their mines there, they're very supportive of any other activity, because they want to keep employment and keep that going as best we can. So very proactive mining jurisdiction as well.
Why should investors be attracted to your business, New Frontier Minerals, what would be the standout reasons why I suppose investors would consider putting their money into the company?
Yeah, look, we're relatively, small in our market cap, just 20 to 22 million, so still relatively cheap. We've got a couple of good key assets, one with exposure to rare earth and critical minerals. So I think if anyone's looking for exposure to critical minerals, it's a good start as an exploration play, and in any kind of discovery as we lead up to our drilling campaign will certainly be a catalyst to really re-rate the value and the price of the stock. Additionally, we also have exposure to copper, and a lot of people like copper. Again, if you want to electrify the world, you really need copper, and I think there is a real copper crunch coming structurally from a supply point of view, and I think we're in a tier one, very attractive jurisdiction and region for copper exposure. So those two projects alone really represent value to shareholders. As I said before, it's really the low-hanging fruit. If we can get one of those projects to work through a discovery or development, if not both of them, I think there's definitely going to be a re-rate and a real value add for all shareholders.
And lastly, what's the sort of short to medium term outlook over the sort of next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, look, I think the next 6 to 12 months is going to be very exciting. So, we're really want to look at drilling. As soon as we get drilling approvals in place, we want to drill Harts Range, and that'll be really good. So there should be some good news flow coming out with that as well. And additionally, we want to look at developing copper, the new Northwest Queensland copper. So there'll be definitely a lot more news flow coming out of there. One of the things, as I mentioned before, we do want to work on trying to get a mining license there. There seems to be a fair bit of consolidation taking place in that Mount Isa region at the moment, which is really good. And I kind of think that's also a bit of the sign of the times that the market's also starting to heat up a bit, and as you start to see more M&A kind of activity and consolidation as well. So really over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll expect a lot of news flow from Harts Range, but also Northwest Queensland as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, good. Kevin, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us more about New Frontier Minerals, and obviously explaining technically, obviously, around the rare earth space in heavy rare earths that you're looking to mine, and giving us an update on obviously tier one mining jurisdictions that you're involved, that you're mining in, which is obviously Northern Territory and far North Queensland with Mount Isa. So if our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions, if they obviously want to follow the story, see how you progress, how can they go about doing that, and what social media platform channels are you on?
There'd be Twitter, X, I suppose. We've got if you follow the New Frontiers, got a X account there as well. Website, go to the website. We post a lot of the media and all our announcements there as well. So, and all the news will be updated through that.
No worries. We'll include those all in the show notes of companies for easy access for our listeners to follow and reach out to you if they have any questions. So thank you again, Kevin. All the best for the rest of this year, and hopefully you can come on next year to give us an update.
Great. No, thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. We're speaking about heavy rare earths here. And I think this episode needs to be shared because rare earths are slowly coming into the news. And he's going to be here for a very long time. So as his podcast wants to educate not just people within the mining industry, but people outside of our mining industry. So appreciate you sharing these episodes far and wide. So thank you again for listening. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining. helping each other to improve the mining industry.